and welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Stephen, the independent thinker, Keith, the constitutional conservative, and my cousin Todd. President Biden signs into law a bipartisan gun bill. Wimbledon and Serena Williams. Todd has those results and more. Monkeypox. The CDC has enacted emergency operations to respond to its spread. Russia continues to hold American WNBA and gold Olympian Brittany Griner as Congress requests them to release her. Miranda rights, abortion, Second Amendment. These are the cases the Supreme Court ruled on this week with major implications as protests erupted across the country. NASCAR with Stephen. Chase Elliott is at it again. The January 6th committee held a special hearing today with damning out of the cup again. Okay, so do you live in Illinois, Colorado, Oklahoma, New York, and Utah? If so, there are primary elections being held today, and we hope you have exercised your constitutional rights. There are also primary runoffs in Mississippi and a special election in Nebraska. We'll talk about that. Deshaun Watson will probably not play this year. Hear why as we continue that and more, if we can fit it in. First up, Stephen and NASCAR. Let's see. Let me play the Stephen and come back and you'll tell me what happened.
It's 4 car lengths. Kurt Busch up the racetrack. Chase Elliott coming back to the white flag. 1 lap to go, presented by Credit One Bank. Chase Elliott down the backstretch for the final time. Season, he'll get it at Nashville Superspeedway. Chase Elliott wins.
Yo, baby. Good stuff, boys. Thank you, guys. There you go, bud.
Boy, that takes so long. Stephen.
Yeah, but don't forget to like and subscribe if you want.
Yes, like and subscribe to whom?
To that NASCAR thing you just read. Like and subscribe to them. You can like and subscribe to us, and we can give you all the NASCAR information you need.
And also find us on the Flow Television Network, the Flow Television Network.com, and you know we're on YouTube. But go ahead, Stephen.
Very easy to find.
And Twitter, and Twitch.
Everywhere. We're everywhere you want to be. And
TikTok.
And TikTok. You can't beat it. We're everywhere. We're available to you. This is a great track for NASCAR. They're in Tennessee. They were there last year. They're there again this year. And I think they're getting 1 race. If they have enough fan support, they're going to get 2 races. And this race was amazing. It was, even though it went till midnight because of lightning problems and rain problems, it went to midnight. At the end, if you watch the very end of the race, the crowd goes nuts. They're still there at midnight and cheering on everybody because they're so happy to have a race in their town. When that happens, they're going to get 2 races. And the race in itself, standing with these new cars, it's a smaller track. It's a super speedway, but it's a small one. It's less than 1.5 miles. It's 1.33. So it's a great race to watch. It's a great race to watch at night because it's so exciting. Like, one car caught on fire in the pits. It's more exciting than a day race. So I think they will have 2 of these, which means they're going to have to take 1 race away from somebody else, have the fan power there. But Tennessee, the home of the Grand Ole Opry and country music, it's perfect for NASCAR. And the fans went crazy. So it was a really good race. Next week is 4th of July, and it's a Road America race. They've been there very infrequently. And there's a new track they're going to start there too. They're trying to get in new fans, go to new places. This is in Wisconsin, and this is a road course. Plus, they're going to have all the fanfare of the 4th of July before and after the show. So it's exciting. And if anybody gets a chance to go back and watch these races, they're going to understand while the first time in years, we are genuinely excited about racing. And it's Ross Chastain is number 2 behind Chase Elliott, who won, and going into the points are getting ready to start real soon. So Ross Chastain he is insane. He has no problem with 2 cars that are riding beside each other, skipping right in between them. If you watch his last race, it is just how he does when he races. He makes a lot of people mad, and he just runs as hard as he can, and that's why he's in second place, and that's why I have him winning the whole thing. So NASCAR, I can't overemphasize enough. It has been awesome this year with the new cars and the younger guys making their presence like they never have before. It's so much more competitive and so much more fun than it has been in a long time.
Hey, Steven, I wanted to say to Steven that earlier I asked him about going electric. And, I was just thinking about it. If they go electric with those cars, you're not going to have that same sound that the big bore V8, those big bore V8s,
That's what I said. They have like the FS1. They're all E cars, and they go about 200 miles an hour, and it makes a really weird sound. Definitely makes a weird sound, but they still go fast. So if NASCAR goes to electric, then they're still going to keep a lot of their diehard fans, because it's still the racing and the style of the car that makes it great. If we have to go electric, we have to go electric. You got to do it.
Like those muscle engines.
I do. I like the sound of it. That's why I like to be there. The sound is nice.
Yeah.
All right. So we have someone on the phone. Good evening. Welcome to Sporlitiks, where sports and politics mix and mingle. What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. I almost fell asleep. Sorry. How y'all doing?
Aguna's
All right, we got Nas just in time for us to talk about
Aguna's friend.
Oh yeah,
he's your friend too. He's your friend too.
Steven just
he
said.
loves some Keith.
Well, Steven just said. Excuse me, Steven just said that Aguna and Nas were brother-in-laws. Is that true? We don't know who Nas is.
Y'all are tight.
Well, it sounds like a little jealousy going on.
No, I'm just saying. I can tell y'all are
jealousy. It's okay. It's okay.
In some kind of way, y'all are brothers.
Man, what's going on? Why are you worried about our relationship?
I'm not trying to get into your love
relationships. How liberal of you?
I'm not trying to get into your love life. I'll just make an observation.
All in my business. Thank you.
So we're not going to know, Stacey. We're not going to know.
All right, watch this.
Something called.
Today in Houston, the first steps in the hearing involving the NFL's possible discipline of embattled quarterback Deshaun Watson. News4Jax sports anchor Cole Peppers joining us. And Cole, what were today's proceedings supposed to decide?
Well, whether or not he can be punished by the league. To decide whether the NFL has the right to discipline Watson, and if so, how the league can discipline him. As it stands right now, 20 of the 24 civil lawsuits for sexual misconduct brought against the former Texans quarterback have been settled. He could still face a significant penalty in any of the other 4, of course. The league has had conversations with 11 women who had massage sessions. Former U.S. District Judge Sue Robinson, who was jointly appointed by the league and the NFL Players Association, is holding the hearings. She could determine that the NFL can discipline Watson and that the league could fine or suspend him based on the evidence that the league's investigators found before the cases were settled out of court. Watson, now with the Browns, has a $230 million contract, but only a little more than $1 million in his salary is for this year. That's money he would not get if suspended. He could also find that Watson, or she could rather, could find that Watson could be suspended, but that last year's season, when Watson did not play, would have to count as a suspension. With the Houston Texans, Watson was not active for any of the 17 games last year. The final possibility is that the judge could rule the NFL cannot discipline Watson, although that seems to be the least likely scenario, unless you consider the potential of a settlement between Watson and the league before a ruling. It should be pointed out that the NFL has punished players for violating the league's personal conduct policy in the past, including stars Ben Roethlisberger and Ezekiel Elliott. A final decision could come later this week.
Okay, so first, I want to say I was remiss last week in not wishing Aguna a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Aguna.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know,
another trip around the sun. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Aguna. How old are you?
Too old. I'm 46. To my fellow Gemini, this is how it goes.
Yeah, we're Geminis, man. You can't no better sign than Gemini.
Exactly. We're intellectuals.
Steven, when's your birthday?
May 29th.
I think I did.
I think so.
Well, now that I'm old, Keith, you need to let me know how you deal with this. I mean, you've been here for a while, so you need to, spread some of that knowledge that's not. And I don't want to hear anything about Hunter Biden's laptop or Hillary Clinton's emails.
You're not old till
Why don't you just focus
you're
on
55. You're not old yet, Aguna.
Yeah.
You're not even over 50 yet. You haven't seen old. You're
I just stay in
what
shape.
old might be. You don't know old yet.
All right,
I
so
just stay in shape.
we're gonna let the birthday boy start off about Deshaun Watson, and then let's bring in Steven, then Nas. Go ahead, Aguna.
This is
What
tough.
happened to Todd? What happened to Todd?
He's grooming his beard or whatever. So, it's kind of messed up. It's kind of messed up. You knew there's going to be some type of punishment, but if you listen to the tape, they also said the possibility of counting the last year as a suspension. But if you think about what the Browns did in trading, they traded a lot for him. Okay, they gave him this. He's played in 2 years almost. So, and it may be 3 years before he actually plays. Now, on the flip side of this are the accusations from the victims in this situation. And there's, because there are so many, and the interviews and actually heard the stories behind it. Because again, a lot of times in our society, when a woman comes forward and says something, it's like, okay, she has to prove it and all these other things. But it's just he definitely had a problem. He definitely overstepped in certain situations there. Now, of course, with the amount of lawsuits, and I know these women are even suing the Houston Texans, and it's going to be one of those things where, if the evidence is proven, and again, there's a lot of evidence now. There's a lot of things going on here. He probably will get this whole year-long suspension. Now, you think about it, he's still going to be able to play. I mean, I think his deal is 5 years. But at the end of the day, I mean, this guy's a predator, man. He did do. I mean, based on if you read some of the accused, the stories and things like that, and looked at some of the interviews, we can't go into this just assuming all these women are lying because of X, Y, and Z. I think there's definitely some issues there, and he has to deal with the punishment rendered by the league, which of course is disproportionate to the crime because again, 6 games here, 1 game here. I don't know. It's kind of messed up. But yeah, I mean, one victim in particular talked about how her employer knew that behavior was going to happen, and she was encouraged. She actually confided in someone else who actually came forward. So it was one of those things where she wasn't even looking for the publicity that she got, and she got a lot of death threats and things like that. So it's more complicated than just what the media or what our opinions warrant in this situation.
Steven.
Oh no, I think that it's almost there's a lot of people that use one lawyer. I think it could be argued that maybe they did all get together. Maybe they all just wanted some money. Maybe they all just wanted something. And what did he do anything that would be on the same level as really doing something really bad, like really doing something bad? I don't accuse of touching here and there or whatever.
Would you do it?
Anybody
Would
can
you
say that or do that. I think that he didn't play here. Huh?
Would you?
I just don't know. I know. I don't have. Why don't these places have cameras? Why didn't they have something more than just what somebody said? Maybe people get some money. I don't know, but it's just he said, she said, and he's already taken off. He's in his prime. And me, as a football fan, to be completely honest, I just want him to play because he's missing out on so much. He's one of the best football players, quarterbacks in the world of all time. He's once in a generation kind of guy. So the fact that he can't play, it's disturbing because we are all missing out on it. And did he really, like Aguna said, is it 1 game? Is it on him? Maybe find a happy medium somewhere and still let him play because he's in the prime of his life. Is what he did his crimes? Is it really that much?
There is a code of conduct.
And I haven't
seen a code of conduct.
Maybe there's a lot more. I haven't seen any details. Maybe the details are really bad. I haven't seen them. But it just seems to me it's harsh.
What'd you say? Oh, but I mean, look, in some stories there are no good guys, and that's kind of what we're looking at here with Deshaun Watson. Because you got one angle of teams, and they have basically a free market bidding for the services of Deshaun Watson. Cleveland steps into the fray. They win the little market situation, and now we get more accusers come out, and now there's questions of what improprieties actually went on. But ultimately, we're not talking about a criminal act. We're talking about an immoral act. That's where this gets dicey, because, again, this is his word versus theirs situation, and it's a question of, okay, once he was told no, did he stop or did he continue? Like some of the accusers say he did. So, this thing with Deshaun Watson is really weird from the beginning, because you got to remember this. Every NFL player or athlete you could think of, they have a masseuse that they go to and possibly a backup. This dude was opening up Instagram just looking for women and then giving them this proposition. So that's where it gets to the predatory aspect that Aguna talks about. But if there was nothing as far as a crime committed, we're just talking about something that's immoral as far as how far he went and what people were willing to kind of take as far as, the settlement. That's where it gets a little dicey. But as far as the NFL, their idea is, okay, how does the public feel about this? Because, again, the NFL is not a moral institution. They don't actually give a damn about this. The same way the Patriots owner Robert Kraft got caught in a similar situation to this. They don't actually care about that. All they care about is, what does the public think? Will we lose advertising dollars or fans based on how hard or softly we punish Deshaun Watson? So this case is, I don't know, it's insane. I think there will be some type of punishment. I'm guessing 6 games. I don't think we'll see a thing where the whole season.
6? I don't know. They're looking at the whole season again, and he's going to be like 3 years before he plays.
I hear that bandied about, but Acuna, you got to remember this. Before Cleveland signed him, the NFL is the one who gave the go-ahead that it was okay to sign him now.
Right.
And that's when you had the Falcons, the Browns, and I think it was one other team that was bidding for his services. So now you pull the rug out under Cleveland and say, oh, well, he can't play this year. But then we get into the minutia of it, and you say, okay, well, why would Cleveland money if he doesn't play this year and everything's backloaded for next year? So they know something.
Definitely. I agree with that.
There's no good guys in the story. It's a terrible story. And if he's a predator to the extent to where he was forcing himself on women who told him no, then we're talking about a criminal who could just afford a really good lawyer and Rusty Harden, the same guy who got Rafael Palmeiro and Roger Clemens and those guys off. Then we're talking about just being above the law because you have money. So there's no good guys in this story. It's a terrible story. The NFL, as raggedy as they are, all they think about is the bottom line and what the public opinion is on it.
So, my thing is, when Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, got caught in his scandal at one of those massage parlors, nothing happened with him. What about the Washington Commanders, when their owner, Dan Snyder, got caught up?
He might have to appear before Congress pretty soon.
So
they're probably going to force him to sell the team.
So all these people are above the law because they have money?
Of course.
It means Trump is above the law because he has money?
What? Cousin Todd?
If he has money.
Cousin Todd has money. You don't have a beard like that if you don't have money. He's got money.
He paid a lot for that beard.
I know. The lace front and everything.
For that beard.
So, to me, it's a sad, I really didn't want to report on Deshaun Watson, but I couldn't ignore it. It's a sad plight. He's a very talented player, but at the same time, the amount of women that have come out, it wasn't just 4 women. We're talking about a couple dozen.
Amazing to me. What's amazing to me is
looking for love.
We don't seem to learn. We don't learn a lesson. It's like we men. I don't know. I'm not going to try to put everybody in the same category, but I don't know why people don't learn lessons from the past. And you look at all the people that go through the same thing. This is like, it happens over and over and over and over and over again, and with different types of people. And so, he needs to use wisdom, situational awareness. This is what self-defense is all about. Protect yourself. I mean, why in the world would you go? Why do they have female masseurs? And usually they have male masseurs, when it comes to male sports, as far as the sports go. But
He wasn't
when they
going.
You
Okay,
started here, Keith, and you
Keith,
just went straight down.
Keith, when you don't know anything about sports in a specific case, just what
Shut your mouth.
Don't
Women
go
can't-
chasing waterfalls.
women
Keith.
can't-
You're chasing
Well, I was
waterfalls.
Some guys
going by
don't want a guy rubbing on them.
Stacy, I was going by the soundbite the clip you played. In the clip, it said that the woman that he was basically accused of inappropriateness and talking about massage and related massage. So I just said, okay.
And you went from there to banning women from giving massages to men.
No, I didn't say that. I said banning.
And then you
I
went
said
into
why are women?
self-defense.
No, I said why are women? Situational defense, situational awareness, where you got to be aware of your surroundings, be aware of where you're going. I mean,
Okay,
if I am
sorry.
an athlete and I go into getting a female massage, just me and her, that is something that it could be questionable. I don't know why you guys don't see that. Well, I do know why. You bunch
All
of
right. Anyway, we're gonna move
Next
on.
story.
Can you come to this century? Can you come to this century?
It went
Next story.
straight over his head.
It
Does
went over
anybody
your
else
head.
want to talk about anything going on?
It went over
with,
your head, not mine.
It went over the justices for Robert Kraft and Dan Snyder and Deshaun Watson. And I mean, and this goes all the way back to Ray Rice. You know what I mean? The way these men treat women. You all always knew I had a problem with the way Ray Rice knocked his fiance, now wife, out and just dragged her like a rag doll off.
We didn't like
Nobody thought that was a good thing.
Horrible.
I mean, we debated over the punishment.
In that circumstance, they gave him, I think it was 2 games, and then the public got view of the tape, and then they made the extension a little more harsh. And Ray, because he was a little older and couldn't find work, he ended up retiring.
Yeah.
But the NFL was completely happy with just giving him 2 games.
Yeah, and the NFL is a corporation. You know, like you said, the NFL is a corporation. It is not a nonprofit.
According to Keith, women shouldn't be on elevators without cameras because they need to be aware of their surroundings. So we need to mandate that all women be banned from going on elevators.
Okay, so anything else?
They had a
with the
camera.
NFL
That's how we
before
saw
move
it.
on?
They had a camera.
Okay. Oh, you know what? You're right. So women can go on the elevator because they had cameras.
Talk about how
Okay.
lucky this guy
Yeah,
was.
they have cameras.
Just by randomly picking
They didn't
Instagram
help her.
models, he liked how they
Wait a
looked.
minute.
Does this man
Go ahead, Nas.
understand? Like the fact that he doesn't understand that he could have been set up to be robbed or killed at any of these endeavors because he's just randomly scoping the internet for.
That means he was used to it. It was a pattern of behavior for him.
This is insane.
It was a pattern of behavior for him. He was getting a rise or something out of it. You know, that in and of itself is a red flag. But does it warrant a 12-game suspension or a 13-game suspension or whatever? The season's like 17 games, whatever. You know, so.
Okay, anything else with the NFL before?
Eagles. It's almost.
Birds.
I will say this. I took my son to Eagles Academy this past weekend, and you know he had a good time. So I was excited because that was the first time I was in NovaCare Center, so I was able to go in there. They had Rodgers to tie it in, and they didn't have any good Eagles, but they did have Ike Reese. So I'll take it.
What is the academy, Aguna? What is the academy? Is it something your kid can participate in?
Yeah. So they had 15 stations set up. They were all kids going from 13 down to 6, and they were all rotating the stations, doing the drills and stuff. It was pretty cool. They actually went through NFL drills, and they were hit some of the tackle dummies and run through the different drills and things. It was pretty cool. I mean, I think the parents were more excited than the kids, though. They're like, wait a minute, you're making me work out? This is not supposed to be.
Yeah, but I bet your son loved it, didn't he?
He loved it.
He did.
Yeah, you should have seen him. I saw the pictures that Aguna posted, and he had the grin. And then when he was they were in some sort of conference, you should have seen him. He was listening. You could see he was listening so hard, like he was going to play in the NFL, child. That's how hard he was listening.
Oh, well, fingers crossed. Hopefully not for the Cowboys, though. I don't know how I'd feel about it.
Tough. Hey, if he plays for the Cowboys, you'll be a Cowboy fan. I bet you $100.
Can you believe that? Like Dallas Goedert. They named Dallas Goedert after the Dallas Cowboys, and then he goes and plays for the Eagles.
Yeah. And that's why he drops passes every now and then.
Nightmare.
It was a curse name.
Watch this.
How do you feel? More than 4 months after she was arrested at a Moscow airport for alleged cannabis possession, WNBA star Brittany Griner appeared in a Russian court Monday, for a preliminary hearing ahead of her trial. Vape cartridges with cannabis oil were allegedly found in her luggage. Griner could face up to 10 years in prison if convicted on charges of large-scale transportation of drugs. Less than 1% of defendants in Russian criminal cases are acquitted, and unlike in the U.S., acquittals can be overturned. Griner's attorneys Alexander Boykov and Maria Blagovolina say the trial will start on Friday, July 1st. The Texas-born Griner is one of the most celebrated women in sports. The Biden administration detained. For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Stephanie Officer.
Okay, Keith, we can start with you. On the detainee, Brittany Griner, the Congress asked Russia for her release, and you see they're not doing it. How do you think she looks in terms of if she's holding up, and how the United States really didn't have much say in her release? And they're moving forward with the trial.
Well, it's a real tragedy. I don't like this. I don't like that whole thing. I mean, I have to agree with Joe Biden. I think it's unjust. But of course, we have different drug laws than they do. Over here, you can do all kinds of drugs. But I mean, I don't know. It's a tragedy to me to see that happen to her. I really think that's all I can say. You know, it just not good.
Are you surprised a woman is playing basketball?
What do you mean? Am I surprised a woman is playing basketball?
Right.
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying, you know.
No, women play
things.
No, women play basketball all the time. There's all kinds of leagues.
Okay, I'm glad you acknowledged that. Good job. You're learning, Keith.
What's the matter with you, man? When have I ever?
Anyone else on Brittany Griner? We have to cover a lot, so we don't have much time. So I've got to start moving very quickly.
Yeah, if I could, Stacey, if I could say real quick, if it was a male pro basketball player, we probably would send a crew of people in there to get him out. We'd figure something out to get him out. Maybe because she's a female basketball player, we don't have as much emphasis on her. But she is being treated horribly. She's being tortured. She's in a Congress senator. We need the president himself to go over there and say, hey, I'm going to take her home. Somebody needs to jump up and do something because she can't stay in that jail like she is. She's being held unjustly as a prisoner for something that she didn't do. Probably she didn't do wrong at all. She probably didn't bring any marijuana in there. And they're just trying to get her on something just to hurt us. We need to find a way to get her out because she's not being treated well. You can tell the way she acts that she's very scared and that she's been treated a part of America. We need to get her out of there immediately.
Okay, thank you. Cousin Todd, you haven't said a word since you've been on. I wonder why. I think you're down and you need somebody.
Yeah, Todd didn't interrupt me.
He's a little bit depressed and he needs Nas.
Yeah. He usually interrupts.
Are you high?
Everybody needs Nas.
I think, and then you can't control these people, so I just sit and watch you.
Yeah, so, well, I don't need Nas like you need Nas.
I don't think they're going to be letting her out anytime soon. I think they're going to use her to their advantage at least for a year, probably 2. And it's a rotten shame, but there's really nothing
anyone can do about it. You're tongue-tied because you depressed.
Anyway, so
what did Serena lose?
His wife. Wait, calm yourselves down. So her wife was saying how the president and vice president won't take her phone calls. She does talk to the White House, but it's always somebody other than them. But it's really nothing they can do because people have been over there. Remember, they just released a guy who was over there for years.
Right. They released one former United States military person, and the other one said, "How come they left me? How come they released him and I had?"
Right.
So you can't talk the whole show on this, Todd. So you have to sum it up. I'm sorry. Nas is waiting.
See this? That's all. I just don't think she's going to be able to come home.
Stacey, who is that Jay? Who is that Jay over there?
That's cousin Jenny. She's a doctor. She's a doctor what you would call a whiz. Go
ahead,
Nas.
Talking.
Oh man, you see, she tried to start a fight between me and you, Todd. We all good, man. But this is a really complicated story, and it's not being handled well by most people. For one, this did not happen during the Russia-Ukraine war. This was before all of the tension started. She's been going over there every year. So this is not like some new thing that Brittany Griner was doing. Now, the difficult part is when I hear Americans like, yeah, you can't trust their justice system. And I'm like, you see the DOJ report for Baltimore, Ferguson, or any of the other cities? And y'all want to talk about all of a sudden that the system can't be trusted? That is amazing. Now, the other part is, like, I hope Brittany comes home, but it's going to be really difficult to get a government to cooperate while you're sanctioning that government. While you are actively in a cold war with that government, it's going to be really hard to get them to cooperate. So I hope the sister is able to come home. I hope, this will be all over soon. But it's not likely, as Todd just said, just because of the tension involved in the two countries. And look, man, the saddest part about this is Brittany needed a much better team around her as far as coming over there. Like, no matter what, you should not be the one transporting anything. There should be some hanger-on or somebody else or whatever, but you should not be taking any risk to that extent. And that's the sad part. And remember, the state, look, don't say anything early. We're going to try to work this through back channels and see if we can get her free. So that was what they did early on. And because of that, nothing happened. And then people thought, well, they're just not standing behind her because she's a woman, and that's why people aren't standing up for her like they would have been. No, that's not how it happened. They were going with the White House. We'll wait and try to back channel. It's just the back channel didn't bear any fruit because again, they're sanctioning that country right now, so it's gonna be hard to make a deal. And I'm really worried about Brittany, and I hope she's well. We have no evidence of torture or mistreatment or anything else, though. We got to be careful with some of these sensationalized headlines we see on social media. Right. There's nothing to that effect. She's actually a prisoner, and I would say a valuable prisoner. So I don't know if we could just jump to conclusions.
Well, they're going to have to get an intermediary. They'll probably work through another country like India or something like that to try to get something done, and that's going to take a significant amount of time. It's not going to be directly from the U.S. Yeah, that's definitely going to take time, and there's no incentive for Russia to cooperate at this point, like Nas was saying.
Okay, watch this.
Now to a dramatic story and pictures. The American artistic swimmer Anita Alvarez had to be rescued from the bottom of the pool by her coach after fainting at the World Aquatics Championships. The 25-year-old lost consciousness and was not breathing when she sank after completing her routine in the solo free final in Budapest. The US swim team later released a statement saying Alvarez had recovered now. One of the heroes of this story is Andrea Fuentes, the head coach for the USA team. She told the BBC what happened when she realized Anita was having difficulties.
So she went down and I was like, no, this is not normal. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going, because in my head it was, I know how it feels in this sensation. Your heartbeat is at least 200 beats per minute or almost. And I know you really want to breathe in that. So grab her and pull her up to the surface. And once I pull her up, so my goal was only to make her breathe. I wanted to have this solved before anyone else, because I knew if somebody was going to be faster, it was me. So why not to go? It was important. It was more important than ever. Like I think I swam faster than any of my Olympics.
And I did hear that's the second time that has actually happened, that Fuentes has jumped in to save her.
Story, that's the second time. I think it's wonderful. First off, those swimmers, I think people don't realize, the amount of athleticism it takes, and then holding their breath, and then breathing, holding their breath, and then making all those artistic moves. That really makes a difference. And for her to pass out and swim to the bottom, it was a good thing her coach was watching, Cousin Todd.
Yeah, that would have been serious. And
tragic, possibly.
Right. And so I was glad that happened, and I was glad that she jumped in immediately. But I can't believe that's the second time it happened. I don't get that. The second time, I don't know what she has wrong with her medically, but twice? That's something.
All right, moving on. Wimbledon.
First, the late-night drama at Wimbledon, and Serena Williams has crashed out in the first round after losing to Armani Tan in a 3-hour, 3-set epic on centre court. In her first singles match in nearly a year, the 23-time Grand Slam champion lost the opening set, but fought back by winning the second 6-1. Williams then served for the match at 5-4 in the decider, but Tan held her nerve and broke back. Williams saved a match point and forced the third set to a tiebreak. But despite leading 4-love, Tan won it 10-7 to reach the second round. Heartbreak then for Williams after over 3 hours on centre court as the match finished after 10:30 p.m. This was only the third first-round exit in 80 career Grand Slam appearances for Williams. In contrast, joy for Tan as she wins on her Wimbledon debut.
This segment, Aguna, it's Todd and tennis. Cousin Todd.
TNT.
TT.
That was tragic, and I did not watch. She just got back. She hadn't played in a year, I believe. And so I didn't watch it. I didn't think she was going to do well because once you first come back, I thought maybe she would, win her first game, but I didn't watch it, and I hate it for her. But this was good practice. U.S. Open is coming up, which we will be going to, and we'll see her there. But that's it.
So we have Todd's sister on, who we call Little Jenny, but you guys know her as Dr. Jenny, board-certified physician and a tennis fanatic herself. Did you want to talk about Serena or anyone else? Because Todd acts like Wimbledon was just Serena playing. There were plenty of other tennis players.
He's in withdrawal.
He never mentioned not one of them. He only talked about Serena, and that was the end of it. Jenny, do you want to talk a few things?
Hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good to have you back, Doctor. I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, great to see you back.
Doctor,
I thought
she was
it's good to
you and your boyfriend.
I never called her.
Steven had the nerve to call a board certified pathologist a quack. United States medical student.
I stand by that because she got bad information. She reads bad journals from Dr.
Board
Fauci.
certified.
I stand by the quack. Dr. Fauci's a quack. And if you believe Dr. Fauci, you're a quack. I stand by that.
All right.
Dollars. Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
That's okay. I know those weird, horrible journals like New England Journal of Medicine and American Journal of Surgical Pathology. Those are just like rags. You know,
let the doctor speak. Stop it, Stephen. You're embarrassing yourself.
Just complete rags. They're just like the National Enquirer. So you're right. So anyway,
you read too much Star Magazine, Jenny.
So anyway, just on to something which I love.
He can't help himself.
I saw a little bit of the match today on and off. Serena, she's she hasn't played in I think even over a year. And so I think it's a great nerve for her to come out here. I mean, really, I don't even know if she deep down in her heart expected to, first of all, win the tournament. Maybe she wanted to see how far she could go, but she gave us some, highlights and some, shades of Serena in the past when she won the second set 6-1 over this tennis player from France, Harmony Tan, who's making her debut. But one interesting thing about this match is Harmony Tan was coached by another French player named Natalie Tauziat, who, if you're familiar, she played back in the 80s and 90s. And she actually played Serena. So she gave Harmony Tan some really good insight into keeping the ball out of her strike zone. And, sometimes Serena has trouble against sort of tricky players who don't have a lot of strength, but they have a lot of tricks up their sleeve. They can, hit slices. They can, hit to corners. You have good placement. You can give these power players a little bit of trouble if you make them run to the ball and things like that. So that's what she was doing. And so, props to Natalie Toziat from back in the day, told this, girl how to win, and she did. So, but other than that, I hope to see Serena at the U.S. Open. Maybe she can get some matches, hard court matches in between now and then, and we'll see what happens. As far as the other women who played, I think the top seeds, as expected, won today. There were no upsets. Obviously, if you want to call this one an upset, I really kind of wouldn't. But all the top seeds won. Coco Gauff, Bianca Andreescu, Simona Halep, and Petra Kvitova, who's won Wimbledon twice. She's seeded number 25. She won her match. So the number one player, Iga Swiatek, I think she's on a 30-match win streak this year, including the French Open. So we're just waiting to see who beats her even just once this year. The men's side.
How old is she?
Iga Swiatek, she's either 19 or 20.
Oh, okay.
So she's already won the French Open twice. Some notable there's a few notable absences. And I think, as maybe you guys may or may not know, the Russian players and Belarusian players are not allowed to play because of what's going on in Russia. They were banned from playing. So in other tournaments, they could play, but they couldn't play under their flag. But Wimbledon decided not to let them play at all. So that's one. So there are a lot of top players are missing. So on the men's side,
which they should be X'd out. Now, of course, backwards Keith and Stephen think otherwise, but this is what happens when you're at war with another country.
This is what happens when you live in a communist country.
Well,
you think Russia is communist still? This is a shame, man. It's like,
well, what do you call it? Democracy? Is that the way democracy works? Is that the way a democracy works?
We're not in the 80s.
The way we work?
Criticize them being undemocratic, but that doesn't mean they're all right.
You're stuck in the 80s, Keith.
Yeah, don't waste your breath.
Well,
on
go
that.
ahead.
Go ahead, Jen.
Well,
Are
just
you
to
going to the men's,
to go over to the men's side, and actually just mentioning the Russian ban, Russian and Belarusian ban. I think as a compromise, they're usually, when you play these big tournaments, the majors, there's points to be had. So I think they're freezing. They're not there's no points. I think there's no points to defend and no points. You don't get any points because that's how you get your rankings for the year. This tournament is worth so many points.
Right.
So I think there's no points either given or taken away. So that's kind of their bit, just to keep everything equal because, if this person wins, I'm going to get X amount of points, but you didn't even have a chance to play. So that's kind of how they're making the compromise. So just like I said, just going over to the men's side again, there's a couple of upsets for the last 2 years now. That's Felix AA, they call him, but his name is Felix Auger-Aliassime from Canada. Yeah. He lost his match
really
today.
Good.
He seeded 6th, so he, that was an upset. Actually,
he's probably is a good player, and he's going to be one that you keep hearing me talk about, as opposed to Nadal.
Well, we didn't hear you talk about anybody because you stopped at Serena.
Yeah, I did because the buck stops with her. See, she and her sister made tennis what it is today. Go on, Jen.
Yeah, I mean that's really the truth. I mean, tennis, even the way they, how they broadcasted, when they broadcasted, that's all Venus and Serena. It changed
made tennis made golf what it is. Blacks always. Well, never mind. Go on, Jen. Just forget I said anything.
So anyway, Rafael Nadal, who's my favorite male player. He and Roger Federer. But Nadal just kind of, like I said, he just, he just leaves everything on the court, no matter what the match. He won his match in 4 sets. He actually lost a set to this young player. I think he's maybe in his 20s, Francisco Cerundolo from, I think, Argentina. He took a set off of Nadal. And I think it was a little bit of a, iffy set by Nadal. He, made a few unforced errors. But of course, the fourth set, he came right back and just kind of, Nadal being Nadal, just, you really got to take it away. He's not going to give it away. So
Well,
he's
I'm
won.
looking at these they're falling asleep. Because
Oh,
you're not
all
talking
right.
about basketball.
Well, Rafael
Yeah.
Nadal has done so. He's bigger than. You talk about people like Rafael Nadal, Michael Jordan, people who just do amazing thing, like once in a lifetime thing. Rafael Nadal he's one of these people. 14 French Open championships. Is anybody going to ever do that again?
Never.
Maybe, I don't know, 100 years. when we're
Dr.
all
Jenny,
dead.
you and Todd have been talking for almost 5 minutes, and I only recognize 2 names.
Okay, Rafael Nadal. And Serena Williams and Venus Williams. Anyway, the other men top players won. Denis Shapovalov, Taylor Fritz, who's a young American, and he's been improving, and so he's looking to go deep into the tournament. And
are there any
that's
black
it. Not
males?
many.
Are there any black males that are doing well in tennis, like Serena was doing well?
Stacy's yawning.
Not
Aguna's
many.
drinking
All right, so not
vodka.
many. Okay, I'm getting ready to. I've had to stop a few. I would have been done. I had to stop a few times. So anyway, like I
Elite
said,
privilege.
No big surprises. One little Grigor Dimitrov, who's he's seeded 18th. He had to retire, I believe, because of an injury. I don't like. His opponent was a guy named Stevie Johnson, who's an American.
Because she's so old.
Serena can do whatever she wants to do.
You don't have to answer him because
she's also one of these. She's once in a lifetime. Some people who achieve once in a lifetime goals or events, like you just have to give them they go beyond their sport. She's in the history books forever.
That's right. But you know what, Jen? There's an old white man. He's around 68 or something like that. And he got back into football, and they never asked him about retiring. Strangely enough, I forget what his name is.
Okay, thank you very much.
So that's it. So rest of the
Thank you
tournament,
very much.
enjoy if you watch. I guess not.
No, they won't be watching. If it's not football or basketball, these ghetto people don't know anything.
I'll be watching tennis, Serena.
Stop lying. You're not going to watch tennis.
I'm going to be watching. Hey, I'm a Coco fan. I'm all about Coco.
Nas wants to comment.
No, I don't have anything great to cover. Like, Jenny laid out everything beautifully. Todd as well. Like, look, Serena is in the LeBron stage of her career. Everything she gets now is just icing on the cake. So she's going to play herself into shape, and she's going to go into these majors. And in one of these majors, there's something about legends to where they can summon a performance. That's going to happen. The same way when you see Tiger charging on the Sunday or old LeBron getting that last chip. Like, these things are going to happen. It's going to be good for the sport and beautiful to see. The only thing I disagree with the guys on was the Wimbledon thing. I don't think you should be excluding countries based on what their government does. Because for the most part, citizens have no say in it. It would be like if Americans were excluded because of the invasion of Iraq. And more than likely, we'll invade somebody else in the next decade.
100%, Nas.
Are they going to exclude American players? So I don't know. I don't know about that policy. I didn't like
100%, Nas. I'm with.
Listen, it's just like these sanctions. They don't affect Putin necessarily. They affect his people, which is what the goal is.
I think there's trouble in paradise.
Wow, hey, that's interesting. So, do we sanction Iran or not? Do we sanction North Korea or not? What are we doing?
Okay, so congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche, how do you pronounce that, for winning this Stanley Cup. They get to drink out of the Stanley Cup. Steven, how much did you bet and lose on that? We got to move fast.
No, I had Avalanche winning it all. I like the Avalanche. I have a friend of mine that's a huge fan. So when they're doing well, I bet on them. And they've been off and on a little bit, but they're going to come back and win it. And I felt like they would. And they did me well. I like Colorado a lot. I'm glad they won. The Lightning just got decimated. All of their best players got hurt consecutively during almost every game. And they lost another huge player. So you had to think that Avalanche was going to find a way to win it because they had a deeper bench and a more healthy bench. So they made it at the end. They came and did what they had to do, and they had the better team at the end. And the Tampa Bay played well, but it just wasn't their year. They got too many injuries.
Okay, thank you. Bryce Harper from the Philadelphia Phillies
had losing to the Braves right now.
He broke his left thumb when a ball hit his left thumb at about 90 miles per hour. He has to undergo surgery, so he will not play. Phillies they be playing the Atlanta Braves, which was my Graham's team. And although I know she wouldn't want them to win, I wouldn't want Philadelphia to win because she was an Atlanta Braves fan. I want them to win. Anyone want to comment on their baseball team and what they're doing now?
Well, we're kicking the hell out of the Phillies right now. That's what we're doing.
And it's the fourth inning. Relax. Like Atlanta. It's not like Atlanta doesn't lose big leads.
What is the score?
It's 3-1. Yeah, it's in the fourth inning. It's 3-1 in the fourth inning.
And Phillies at bat. Phillies at bat.
I don't know if Phillies at bat yet. I don't know who's at bat. Nas, who's at bat? We need you.
Mid-fourth, 0 outs. The Athletics are playing the Yankees. The Pirates are playing the Nationals. The Red Sox are playing the Blue Jays. The Astros are playing. The Brewers are playing the Rays. The Twins are playing the Guardians. The Marlins are playing the Cardinals.
This is like the worst time for
Cubs. Rangers against the Royals. LA Dodgers against the Colorado Rockies.
Well, if you want to put people to sleep, give them baseball score.
I mean, come on. So baseball doesn't matter until after the All-Star break. Okay,
that's not true.
That's when you get into
Not if you bet on it again. If you bet on it, every game's important.
That's not true. All right, let's move on to.
Well, Stacey, let me be fair though and say this though. Baseball is the only sport where everything has to be so pinpoint and so accurate that the difference between one of your premier players and Bryce Harper finishing the season and being knocked out for the season was because a guy couldn't get the ball inside good enough. Bryce was screaming. He was in agony. He was in pain. He was cursing, but you heard him yell at the pitcher. I know you didn't do it on purpose, but hell, I don't care. Like, if you can't pitch inside, don't pitch inside. You just ruined the Phillies season, honestly. So, yeah, man, it was a sad thing, but, I mean, that's baseball. Like, one pitch can change everything.
All right. Watch this.
I believe the Constitution protects the right to privacy, and I have no reason or agenda to prejudge the issue.
Roe versus Wade is an important precedent of the Supreme Court. It was decided. It has been challenged on a number of occasions, and the Supreme Court has reaffirmed the decision. When a decision is challenged and it is reaffirmed, that strengthens its value.
Roe versus Wade, decided in 1973, is a precedent of the United States Supreme Court. It has been reaffirmed, so a good judge will consider it as precedent of the United States Supreme Court, worthy as treatment of precedent like any other.
As a judge, it is an important precedent of the Supreme Court. By it, I mean Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey. Been reaffirmed many times. Casey is precedent on precedent.
I do not believe that Brett Kavanaugh will overturn.
Precedents
Roe
are
v.
overturned
Wade.
all the time.
They aren't overturned all the time.
He views precedent not just as a legal doctrine, but as rooted in our Constitution.
Neil Gorsuch, for whom you voted, don't you think he's probably going to vote to overturn Roe versus Wade if given the chance?
I actually don't.
Roe is not a super precedent because calls for its overruling have never ceased, but that doesn't mean that Roe should be overruled.
Cousin Todd.
Yes, they all lied, but that was so typical. And when these people were voted in, you knew what their agenda was. And so there was no secret, and Trump didn't make it a secret. As a matter of fact, he boasted about it. And they did just what they were supposed to do. And so there's got to be something done about this, how Supreme Court justices can lie and then get a lifetime appointment. A lifetime appointment? It should never have been lifetime appointments. But when this thing was created, it was created by a bunch of white boys. Ignorant waste. So you get what you get. So that needs to be abolished, this lifetime appointment. And these people need to be impeached for lying.
That's it?
That's all. I thought I can only talk a certain amount of time. I thought the clowns can just go for hours.
They can. Go ahead, Keith.
Well, let's see. I would just say that every politician lies. And if that were true, that they should be
Supreme Court is
impeached
not
for
politicians.
Under oath.
Now, I was totally silent when this guy spoke. Anyway, just because they call something, look, everyone, I'm not justifying lying. I'm just saying that everyone lies. And if you go by the story, we all lie. All men are liars. That's what the Bible says. All men, even me, you too, all of you are liars. So having said that, I would say that just because they claim that they were liars, Biden should not be president right now. But anyway, having said that, I'm going to go and say that precedent does not mean that it's constitutional. Precedent does not mean that it's constitutional.
Let me ask you this. Because of the reversal of Roe versus Wade, the mud is going to fall quicker, faster, and hit the people who suffer the most, which will be women of color.
No, the
now,
people.
It's not just black women, but women of color. Those women who want and need, for some reason, to have an abortion, they will not have to because of trigger laws in certain states. So if they live in those states where those trigger laws happen, and they can't get to the other states that don't, what do you say about them? Money can't buy, money could buy that a better circumstance for them, but they don't have it.
I say that there are all kinds of ways, many options to
practice.
Say
what some of the options are.
There are many options, to practice safe sex, or, really you should have abstinence.
Rape? What about rape and incest?
You should ban
rape and incest
sex without marriage.
No, rape and incest don't mean rape and incest are no excuse. Number one, you take the child's life. That's no excuse to do that. Never should you take a child's life, an innocent child. It's government's job to secure these rights. Governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's the Declaration of Independence. We are to protect life at all costs. Okay, so if the woman is irresponsible, then she is not practicing safe sex with all kinds of contraceptives, then that's on her. She needs to be taking, and also she has to be responsible. Now, if it's rape,
you gotta let him finish.
If it's rape or incest, that is still no excuse to kill the baby, as far as I'm concerned, because any one of us could have been aborted.
Okay, thank you. Steve, Aguna, and then Stephen, and I need you can see you. You're very dark.
You can't see me? Oh man,
you're very
that's
dark.
the first time I've ever heard that complaint. I haven't heard that complaint in a while.
Let's put the lights on. Go ahead, Aguna.
Yeah. So again, here's the thing. This is a very complex issue, and for people on this show to pretend as if having an abortion is an easy decision for a woman to do, then of course that's the lack of empathy that many conservatives have kind of embraced over the last several elections. A complex issue. Therefore, because of the complexity, government needs to stay out of it. Nobody on this show is pro-abortion. That is a private decision that a woman has to make between her doctor, her family, and her God.
Okay.
No room or anything for government. Now, just get this now. The fact that the Supreme Court, and again, I'm not necessarily against what they did, because what Supreme Court doesn't make laws. They judge on the constitutionality of laws. So what they did, they kicked it back to the states to decide. And in doing so, they are allowing the states to abide by it. And by the states doing it, they have a little bit more closer they have a little bit closer to it. Let me just finish, Stacey. Let me finish.
You got to sum it up. We don't have much time.
We hear you. You don't have to finish.
Here's the thing. Because at the same time, because you kick it down to the states,
turn your light on, Stephen.
You're going to have to decide whether or not a woman had an abortion naturally through like a miscarriage or through an abortion. It creates chaos into the whole healthcare system when it comes to women's health. That's why even at the state level, I think the government needs to stay out of people's bedrooms and people's private lives, especially if you're doing this and not expanding the healthcare and the availability of contraception. Clarence, Judge Thomas talked about banning contraception, banning what people do in the privacy of their own homes. Once government starts doing that, even though the Supreme Court doesn't make the laws, once they start ruling the constitutionality of it based on privacy and overlooking equality, you're getting into a dangerous area.
Okay, thank you. Stephen, you got to turn your light up. I can hardly see you.
I don't know if it can go any higher. I'm like on the highest.
I can see. I can see.
It much higher.
It won't go any higher. It's like the sunshine.
Thank you, Bruno. You got to go a little bit
That's
lighter.
better. Okay.
Your light isn't on at all, Stephen.
I don't know what you're seeing.
You see how light my light is? Yours doesn't look anything like that. So Nas, go ahead until Stephen gets his light together.
I can't go any higher.
Oh, there you go.
Go, Stephen, or you want me to go?
Go ahead, Nas.
Let Stephen go. Please let Stephen. I want to hear this.
See, Aguna, Keith, and I.
I want Stephen's light to go higher like he just had it, and he turned it down.
I did not. I haven't turned anything down.
Turn it back.
It couldn't be any brighter.
If you believed in science, it wouldn't be that bad. You don't believe in science and technology. Oh my gosh.
I don't know how to turn it any brighter. It's as bright as it was.
Now we can barely see your mullet. We can barely see your mullet.
All right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nas.
What in the world? The dark web. You're on the dark web.
People are going to die. The 12 states who have these trigger laws have some of the highest rates of death for women in China. And when you put a situation where you're forcing people to have children, but you don't improve prenatal care and all of the things that women would need to be able to, really make this happen in a way that was healthy and hopeful and really change society, then you're going to get what you're going to get, which is red state, raggedy laws. People of color, especially, are going to be vulnerable to some of these lawsuits and also punishment as far as fines and jail and everything else. And we're going to be able to read through the data in 5 years and see not only how dangerous of a situation this is, but just that this was a political function and they're going to grind up people's bodies based on that political function. The Federalist Society has been trying to crack the court for 30 years. They finally got it done. They got their pet project in, and this pet project creates a way for a minority of the country to be able to have way more power and I guess you could say electoral reach than they would have by what? Out of some of these red states, but locking in these red states and for electoral college victories. When think about it, they've lost the popular vote election after election after election. So if you're a minority party and you have a platform that's not welcoming, young people don't like it, and you can't really expand your base, how do you figure out how to close things down? Well, this is what you do. You put in a policy like this. You have your states already lined up for the day when it's gone to trigger it, and it's a lot of death. And these states are also going to have a brain drain. They're going to lose doctors. They're going to lose nurses. People are going to lose access to the meager health care that they already had. So, yeah, this is going to be a disaster, and the Republicans will just, look the other way and say that they didn't cause it, but the data will show what they did, and what they did was kill a lot of women with this policy.
Yeah, right. How many women die having abortions? How many women die having abortions every year?
So
you tell us. You tell us.
Stephen, the abortion decision, the overturning of Roe versus Wade puts those precedents in danger. And I'm talking about specifically for the court to overturn same-sex marriage, contraception, and other rights. Should the Supreme Court be doing that?
That's not going to happen. I don't believe that's going to happen. This needed to happen because in 1973, the Supreme Court screwed up. It never should have happened. And there shouldn't be 60 million babies that got aborted because I guess 60 million people got raped. Maybe that's the cause. No, it's not. Most people do abortions because it's easier than making proper decisions before you have sex. Everybody aborts. I know women that had 8 abortions.
That's not true.
And Todd is really upset because he may have a harder time getting an abortion. That's why he's so upset about this. Now, this comes down to the Constitution. The Constitution has never said anything about abortion. That's why they have to kick it back down. What is it, 14th Amendment or whatever? They have to kick it back down to the states.
Really?
That's what it's all about. That's what our Constitution's about. If you don't like the Constitution, that is the best thing ever written for everybody on this show and everybody listening and everybody watching. And the Constitution is the best thing we ever had. And that's what they did. What they did was something was constitutional. They put it back to the states where it should be anyway. And Aguna, you even said that these people need to vote on it, and it's an individual state thing. Keith, I all agree on this. We're not arguing. This is not something that's emotional. We're not trying to be emotional.
We just have a different perspective.
We all do not agree.
And no one's disagreeing that a conservative court didn't do something constitutional. We're talking about
this is constitutional.
We're not saying it's not. They have the purview to make the ruling, but we're talking about the feasibility of it. Here's the thing, Stephen. At the end of the day, they're cherry picking rights at the judicial level, and it's an overreach of government. We don't necessarily disagree on what happened. We disagree on the role of government in people's private lives, and to take this for a law to disproportionately impact women's health. And again, I'm saying I'm not pro-abortion. I'm not saying, hey, let everybody. And you're using 60 million people get. 60 million babies got aborted.
Babies were 60 million babies.
At the end of the day, Stephen, everyone that got aborted, there's an individual story and that person's right to privacy when it comes to that. There's stories in that 60 million where women have gotten raped. There's stories in there that the health of the mother is challenged. It is a very private matter for women to make these decisions. And for us to sit here on this show and say, oh, you know what? It's because of
generally birth control.
It's a very difficult decision to make. It's a difficult decision for
it is a difficult decision. I agree. And most women regret making that decision.
What are you talking? You can't talk about for most women. You can't talk to that. That's what.
Okay, I'm sharing my screen. And as you can see, what it shows is the states that are likely to ban or restrict abortion are in red. That's Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah, Arizona, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina. States not likely to ban, restrict abortion are all the other ones. I'm not going to name them because you're going to get bored. But this is important. This affects a lot of people. It affects a lot of Americans. And if the Supreme Court moves to restrict same-sex marriage or contraception, you can't have the will of the few imposed on the many. I know Keith is religious, and we would say that Jesus said, follow me. It's your choice. It's not something you have to do. So in that, if these people are Christians and making those decisions, it seems like to me they should be basing their decision on Christ's principles. Keith?
Yes, they should. And by the way, making a decision on Christ's principles means that you hold fast to that decision. And that's the way I hold the standard. And I don't force anybody else to hold the same standard as I do. I do look at the Declaration of Independence, and that is a political document, just like the Constitution is. Constitution is based on the Declaration of Independence. And natural law is the standard by which we should judge our policies. That's what the founders said when they said that the laws of nature and of nature's God or the standard that the Constitution, that set the Constitution. That is the standard. The Constitution has no basis without the Declaration. So this is why, this is what I judge it on. And that's why I say that people should, gay marriage, abortion, all of that stuff is null and void when it comes to the natural law.
Big government conservative want Uncle Sugar to come in and solve all his moral problems and force that on everybody else. Get out of here, man. We're tired of
Well, let me say it this way. Let me respond.
You're interrupting, Keith. You're interrupting.
I'm sorry. Once you hit a certain age and you're out of the game, like you don't get to tell or you dictate to young people about what they should do or do not. Like get out of here with this. And again, the bodies that are going to pile up because of this, poor white women, poor Hispanic women, poor black women, like this is going to be devastating. And we're going to see the CDC reports. We're going to be able to go to Pew Research and see just a line and the graph as it changes based on this decision. And these people who are making these constitutional noises with their mouth without any idea what any of the words they're saying mean, it means nothing in the midst of this conversation when we're talking about people's lives and the outcomes that are going to happen based on these decisions where people fraudulently got themselves on that court, which is supposed to be a decision, and clearly it was political. Like I said before, when you look at how they wanted to pack the court for all of these years and make the Supreme Court into a political institution, you see the problem with that. Now, these same people who want to disregard all of the points about health outcomes and what's going to happen, infant mortality, everything else that's going to happen, these same people would have a fit if Joe Biden were to pack the court with people and they started putting up liberal ideas of what America should. So yeah, I'm not listening to Keith. I'm not listening to Stephen. They refuse to read. They refuse to learn, and they are a part of this catastrophe. And we're going to see it in the death toll.
Headlines: a rally to support two Republican candidates ahead of Tuesday's primary. Comments made by one of them, Congresswoman Mary Miller, are drawing backlash. During last night's rally, Trump endorsed State Senator Darren Bailey in the six-way GOP race for governor. He told the crowd at the Adams County Fairgrounds near Quincy, Bailey will restore the state to greatness. Trump also reiterated his support for Miller, who is facing five-term Congressman Rodney Davis in the newly redrawn 15th district. This is what Miller said about celebrating the overturning of Roe versus Wade.
To be President Trump, on behalf of all the MAGA patriots in America, I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court yesterday.
Miller's spokesperson says she misspoke. He says the Congresswoman intended to say the decision was a victory for a right to life, not a victory for white life.
Okay, so Cousin Todd, do you think that she said that Freudian slip was what she meant to say?
Of course it was. But let me just say this too. When these statistics start coming out about women dying, they're not going to be true, right, Keith? They're all going to be lies, right, Stephen? Oh, no, I can't believe anything you read.
What about less babies dying? How about less babies dying?
This is the thing here.
That doesn't matter,
When you
Stephen.
have these people without vaginas making rules for people with vaginas, this is what you get. These
Supreme
backwards.
Court justice has a vagina.
Now, Stacey,
Does God have a vagina?
when
Does
this
God have a
crackpot
vagina?
start
I wonder.
talking, but
Not
now
taking
she
the issue
won't mute
seriously.
any of them, so I'll mute myself. Bye.
Dang, what'd y'all do to Todd? That's messed up. I mean,
Mr. Chairman, we will begin today with an exchange that first provided Ms. Hutchinson a tangible sense of the ongoing planning for the events of January 6th. On January 2nd, 4 days before the attack on our Capitol, President Trump's lead lawyer, Mr. Giuliani, was meeting with White House and others. Ms. Hutchinson, do you remember Mr. Giuliani meeting with Mr. Meadows on January 2nd, 2021?
I do. He met with Mr. Meadows in the evening of January 2nd, 2021.
And we understand that you walked Mr. Giuliani out of the White House that night, and he talked to you about January 6th. What do you remember him saying?
As Mr. Giuliani and I were walking to his vehicles that evening, he looked at me and said something to the effect of, "Cass, are you excited for the 6th? It's going to be a great day." I remember looking at him and saying, "Rudy, could you explain what's happening on the 6th?" He had responded something to the effect of, "We're going to the Capitol. It's going to be great. The president's going to be there. He's going to look powerful. He's going to be with the members. He's going to be with the senators. Talk to the chief about it. Talk to the chief about it. He knows about it."
And did you go back then up to the West Wing and tell Mr. Meadows about your conversation with Mr. Giuliani?
I did. After Mr. Giuliani had left the campus that evening, I went back up to our office and I found Mr. Meadows in his office on the couch. He was scrolling through his phone. I remember leaning against the doorway and saying, "I just had an interesting conversation with Rudy, Mark. Sounds like we're going to go to the Capitol." He didn't look up from his perspective. "There's a lot going on, Cass, but I don't know. Things might get real bad on January 6th.
Ms. Hutchinson, Mr. Meadows is engaged in litigation with the committee to try to avoid testifying here. What was your reaction when he said to you things might get real bad?
In the days before January 2nd, I was apprehensive about the 6th. I had heard general plans for a rally. I had heard tentative movements to potentially go to the Capitol. But when hearing Rudy's take on January 6th and then Mark's response, that evening was the first moment that I remember feeling scared and nervous for what could happen on January 6th. And I had a deeper concern for what was happening with the planning aspects of it.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Get more great ABC7 content by clicking the subscribe button for our YouTube channel and download the ABC7 Los Angeles streaming app on Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, and Roku to watch on your TV.
Okay, that was an ex-aide who painted a very convincing portrait of the former President Trump, January 6th, for the committee. And this was a surprise, or let's say a last-minute testimony that the January 6th committee had today that was not planned. Let's start with Keith. Don't you think that what she said, even the aide who didn't know anything, knew more Meadows and knew that basically President Trump was inciting a riot?
Well, the only thing I'm going to say about that whole entire fiasco is that did we hear one single person cross-examined? Did one person just one get cross-examined? In other words, the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, Amendment 6, says that in all criminal prosecutions, well, since they're considering Trump a criminal, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy public trial. They've been trying Trump for 4 years. To be confronted with the witnesses against him. To be confronted with the witnesses against him. Now, did a single
from Fox News?
Did a single person?
Trial. It's not a criminal trial.
The Constitution. Well, it's not a criminal trial to us, but to them, it seems to be setting up.
You're projecting now. So you're projecting now. You're losing your logic, your flawed argument.
All right. So let's use your little argument. Okay, let's just say that it's not a criminal charge. Your argument is that you're saying it's not a criminal trial.
They testified.
Okay. They testified under oath, just like in a criminal trial. They also had witnesses.
It's not a criminal trial, though.
They also had witnesses, just like in a criminal trial. They've had testimonies.
Stop saying that.
Okay. I said just like. I didn't say it was. But just like a criminal trial. So they had. My point is no cross-examination has been done on a single person.
Why? I'm asking you.
I'm asking you.
Because they had people on the committee. They deferred, and you knew that from the last show. So you keep on saying this narrative that doesn't make sense. Why? Trump is mad because there wasn't a cross-examination. I get that messaging, right? He's trickled that down to you to repeat on this show. But the logic back, McCarthy had the opportunity to appoint people. They appointed 5. Pelosi rejected 2. So the fact that there's no cross-examination is an oversight on the Republicans, and you can't fault the committee for that. They testified under oath. And see, again, it's a flawed logic, flawed argument, and you're embarrassing yourself by keep on repeating it on the show because you're showing that you just have a narrative and not a point. Congratulations.
Okay, all right. Cousin Todd.
How typical. You asked him a question about...
He embarrassed himself.
Of course. But she asked him a question which he didn't answer. What did you think about what the girl said? Hey, she wasn't cross-examined.
I don't know whether she told the truth.
What she said.
She's under oath. She's under oath.
What do you think about what she said?
People have lied before.
Yeah, I mean, the Supreme Court justices were under oath.
She can go to jail for perjury if lying in front of a committee.
Can the Supreme Court justices go to jail?
No, ma'am. And
no, they can't. But remember what the justices said. They just repeated the fact that it was president. They didn't say typically that I would unequivocally, under no circumstances. And just because it's president, like as Keith said, just because it's president doesn't mean they can't interpret it constitutionally. So they were within their purview to reside the way they are. That's different than someone. That's different than someone testifying in front of a committee, answering direct questions. That if they are lying, they can go to jail.
There's no correlation there, right?
No correlation.
Donald Trump knew what was going to happen on the 6th. That's why he came up with the idea. That's why he kept calling people to come out on the 6th, and so he planned for this. And for anybody, after hearing all of this testimony, to say anything different is
they didn't show it on Fox.
Which is why I said, when the statistics come out of these women dying, all they're going to say is, you can't believe them. People lie all the time. Dead bodies and all. So I stopped trying
lying is okay as long as you believe it.
So, Cousin Todd, then the question becomes, who polices the Supreme Court?
Which is what I was saying. Nobody does, which is why we have to revamp this thing. You can't have no
Congress
oversight. Does. You can't have no oversight with these people with lifetime positions. It is ridiculous. And now that Trump packed the court like he did, there's no escape. And states' rights.
You can change the Constitution, but it takes a supermajority, right? So you don't, there's a lot of gerrymandering, but ideally, the people would vote for their legislators, and they would have some type of, heart or empathy to say, you know what, we don't need this type of political, nonsense when interpreting the Constitution that's not popular amongst the people.
In terms of the Supreme Court, you mean, right?
Right, in terms of the Supreme Court. But you don't even have that legislatively, because at the end of the day, if the legislator, Congress wants to make abortion the law of the land, they can pass a law to do that.
Well, states' rights have never worked for people of color, only for white men. So I think kicking it back to the states was the dumbest decision. So after 50 years.
Well, the chaos that's going to ensue after this, because again, you're going to have situations where women have to prove that their miscarriages are natural.
Yes, it's going
you're going to have situations where illegal immigrants, because people are saying that the fetus is viable at a certain week or viable period. Yeah. Illegal immigrants could come in there and have rights because of the fetus. The rights of the fetus, of this on this soil now are under protection. Where you're wrong. So there's a lot of caveats here that the Supreme Court's not accounting for, and it's just going to create lawsuits and chaos.
The kind of hypocrisy you will hear, because remember, Trump said he wanted to stop this thing where if you have a baby in the United States, the baby is a United States citizen. Remember, he wanted to stop that.
But now, if the fetus is in the United States, it's a citizen. Because the viability of the fetus means it has rights.
Yeah, well, Trump wanted to stop and said so.
Stacey,
Stacey,
can I make a quick comment?
Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, the Article 3. This is the Article 3 says that the judicial power of the United States, talking about the Supreme Court, shall be vested in one Supreme Court and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Congress has authority over the Supreme Court. There you go.
Tell us something we don't know.
Oh, you just said Stacy asked if the Supreme Court, who monitors the Supreme Court? It's the Congress.
No.
Well, I meant in terms of who monitors them and reprimands them for doing something wrong and something they should not do.
Yeah, they can do impeachment. Well, the Congress can impeach. They have impeaching powers. They can impeach justices. Aguna's right about that. I agree with him on that.
Well, I mean, like I said, I never said that the Supreme Court didn't have the purview to make the ruling that they did.
They never do. I think they did it once in the history of America.
Yeah, they won't do it.
Why they kicked down Roe v. Wade to the states? Because they didn't ban abortion. They just kicked it down to the states, right, to make the determination, right?
Which is
they did it based on privacy not being precedent, or not privacy not being. They're not recognizing your right to privacy under.
They did it based on political reasons.
I mean,
it's not political.
We're talking about
it's constitutional. It's not political or religious. It's constitutional.
It's political. They got
the
job.
They're not political. They're not political
people.
They're
appointed by politicians. Of course, it's
political. They're constitutionalists.
It's of course it's political. It's appointed. It's just like saying the military isn't political. Generals are political too. Come on.
Right on, Stephen.
The Constitution is not political. The Constitution is cut and dry.
If we're going to have a realistic conversation about this, we need to acknowledge
Donald Trump did not pack the court. Donald Trump, everybody he put in was legitimate. He didn't pack the court.
Okay, now back to reality. Okay.
I mean, Stephen, do you know what passing
on your planet doesn't necessarily mean
Stephen, do you know what the court means?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't know what pack. The only pack he knows is Newport. Newport
didn't pack the court. Is Joe Biden wants 4 people right now that are super liberal. That's packing the court. Donald Trump had the nominees and he put them in there. It was completely legitimate. It wasn't a packing of the court.
Your mouth. Okay, now what can I make my last point? My last point. Here's the thing.
Put some light on it. Put some light on it, Aguna.
The thing is, they're talking about privacy. They're saying people don't have the right to privacy when it comes to Roe v. Wade, right? Because the viability of the fetus means that the fetus has a right to live, right? So they're saying people don't have a right to privacy because the fetus has a right to live, right? That law, the fact what?
The child has a right to live, period. It got nothing else to do with it. The child has a right to live. Under the Constitution, the child has a right to live, period. That's all you have to say.
So does the woman. The child has a right. Here's the thing. When you look at equality under the law, this disproportionately impacts women's health. When you talk about, you're looking past the right to privacy and you're looking at equality, you're mandating pregnancies. You're saying that the uterus is a crime zone when a baby is aborted. You're going down this slippery slope in which government is going to have extreme power and extreme access to the privacy in people's lives. And that's what most people are against. We're not sitting here talking about the morality of abortion. We're talking about the role of government in your life and the ability to supersede your free choices. And that's not the role of government. That's why people are not necessarily pro-abortion. They're pro-people's rights to choose. They're pro-women's rights to choose. Because again, you're not talking about how do you enforce women proving that a miscarriage is a miscarriage and not an abortion. How would you enforce that?
And what about the people that were using contraception and it failed?
Yeah, the fact contraception can be seen as unnatural under natural law. You're preventing life. You're preventing all these things. You're going to force a brain dead baby to term. A woman has to carry a brain dead baby to term because
I got to move on. I've got to move on, and I want to share.
There needs to be exceptions. So people that take this law seriously or take this topic seriously understand it's complex and they're both sides to it.
It is
if you're just indoctrinated in your one point of view, you're the problem.
Right. So let me share this article.
Without a vagina.
We're going to move on.
Not complex. Nothing complex about it.
It is complex.
And I want to share this. They said,
it's murder or not murder.
why was Cassie Axios.com article you see
Is
right
it
here
murder?
by Zachary
When is the fetus viable? When is the fetus viable, Stephen?
Excuse me.
Conception.
At conception. Okay, so sperm isn't viable, the egg isn't viable. At conception, the fetus is viable, and
When
it has
at
all rights
conception,
and
when it
privileges under
comes
the law.
in, you're killing a baby, no matter what form it is.
At
You're killing-
conception, it's a baby at conception.
Okay. I'm trying to move on. History's Lens: Why Cassidy Hutchinson's Testimony Mattered by Zachary Basu. It says that what happened across 2 full hours today, June 28th, Tuesday, the 25-year-old former White House aide divulged a flood of new and highly relevant information about one of the most reported on events in American history. Why it matters? The country's top reporters have spent the last year and a half digging into the Capitol insurrection, plumbing their sources and public records to uncover bombshell after bombshell. And yet, without this testimony from Hutchinson and other key figures, some of the most stunning details would have been lost to history. Now, this is what they're talking about. One, former President Trump knew members of the January 6th crowd were armed, but still wanted the metal detectors removed to pack his rally on the ellipse. He said, "I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me." Then they said Trump was livid, wouldn't take him to the Capitol after his ellipse speech, and allegedly lunged at both his chief of security and the wheel of the vehicle. Hutchinson testified she was told after the incident. And then former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and Rudy Giuliani sought pardons after this January 6th insurrection. So let's start with Keith. Why is this important? And does this lead to or tell us that President Trump is liable and should be held responsible, former president?
Well, again, I would like to see cross-examination and people on the other side, because there are two sides to the story. Will you please let me talk? All right. I would like to see
talk nonsense.
I still want to see both sides being heard, because
the
when
Republicans
this person
did not
gives,
want you to get both sides. They didn't show up.
I wanted to see both sides being heard.
What's the other side?
I don't know.
Right.
Again, there are others. There are two sides to every story.
All right.
Now, this
Thank
person.
you.
Oh, well, see, that's cold. You let them interrupt me, and then you don't let me finish.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead. You make it quick. Go ahead, Keith. Make it quick.
You can let them interrupt, but you can't let them fit. So I could just say that you hear both sides, and that way you can make a comparison, and you can make an evaluation, and that's what I'm saying. So I can't answer you. You only hear one side, and you hear this guy's testimony. You don't know whether he's lying, and you don't know whether he's lying or not. You don't know whether he's lying.
He's under oath.
You don't know whether he's lying.
I don't know what side you're on, Keith. I'm on the side of America.
Good, Keith,
you may want to try it
keep
sometime.
repeating your same point over and over again. Stephen.
Yeah.
He testified that members of the January 6th crowd were armed, but he still wanted metal detectors removed.
Doesn't, like Keith said, none of it matters to me until we get a real investigation of what actually really happened, not just hearsay on one side of what people are just saying on their oath or not on their oath. I don't care. This is another thing that they're trying to do to try to keep Donald Trump from running for president, and it's a waste of time. What they say, it's all a bunch of garbage. These people are total garbage, and we don't care, because if anything happens to Donald Trump, it doesn't matter. He kicked the door down. And all of us now are doing what we're supposed to do, and there's other politicians that can take his place. So there's a great following on the right that doesn't doing, and they are desperate to do anything to stop Donald Trump, because the left has nothing. The left is destroying this country.
Okay.
This is the garbage they're doing, and it's ridiculous. And all we do is laugh at you because y'all are ridiculous. The ones who think this is serious and it's real, we just laugh at you. Just what?
Okay.
Jesus.
Aguna, The article also says
what you need to let him talk, Stacey, because the more he talks, the dumber we get. And people need to see what you're dealing with over here.
Look at this article I have. What hasn't been part of the popular understanding, but now will be, if the public believes Hutchinson's sworn testimony, is that Trump was behaving in ways that were truly unhinged, throwing food at the wall, encouraging armed supporters to march on the Capitol, and endorsing calls to hang his vice president. Does this make him culpable? And will the Justice Department charge former President Trump?
After him, again, most people are on the side of America and know that this was a tragedy. For a president of the United States to behave in that manner is just ridiculous. And for people to support that and to try to get inspired by that and somehow think that there's an us versus them when it comes to just America and the example that we set for the world, that's what we need to be worried about. Now, I do want to point out that Stephen, within his ranting, crazy, All
right, I don't have time for that.
Sorry. Let me finish my point. He made a good the fact that this is inspiring different types of behavior amongst Americans. We're no longer thinking logically around facts and truth, and hearing testimony under oath doesn't mean we try to consider the source versus understanding that this was a black eye to the country. So we should be very afraid of the fact that people like Keith and Steve are looking at it us versus them versus how does this affect us as Americans.
Okay, I got to move on. Thank you.
Biden signs into law the most sweeping legislation aimed at preventing gun violence in 30 years. The president says he believes it proves Democrats and Republicans can find common ground on important issues. Megan Woods is live with more on what was a landmark day in Washington. Megan?
Yeah, Sandra, President Biden's he's been calling for, but it includes some of them. He also mentioned the people who have lost their lives in mass shootings over the last several weeks, months, years, even everyday shootings. They remind us that change has to happen, and this bill is a start.
Their message to us was do something. How many times have we heard that? Just do something. For God's sake, just do something. Well, today we did.
The bipartisan Safe Communities Act was passed by the Senate Thursday and the House on Friday. Today, the legislation gives grants to states for red flag laws. Boyfriends or girlfriends convicted of abusing their partner will no longer be able to get a gun, and people ages 18 to 21 will be required to have enhanced background checks. And that's not all this bill is changing.
It clarifies who needs to register as a federally licensed gun dealer and run background checks before selling a single weapon. This is also to address youth mental health.
Who says seeing Republicans and Democrats take action on this issue together is a step in the right direction.
We have a long way to go, but the fact that people of goodwill in both parties could do something to make the country just a little bit safer was very encouraging.
This legislation does not include a ban on assault rifles or background checks for all gun purchases. But again, President Biden is saying that this is monumental, and it proves that both parties can find common ground on important issues. Live in Detroit, I'm Megan Woods, Local 4.
Okay, let me start with Aguna, if you can make it really short, the importance of President Biden signing this gun law.
Well, the fact that Biden did it, it's never going to be good, right? But I think it's important to do something. I think this is not as intrusive as people try to deal with gun legislation to be. So again, it's an action. It's not most law-abiding gun owners aren't against background checks and things of that nature, because at the end of the day, as a citizen, I'm going to get a gun if I want to or not. There's nothing going to impede me from getting a gun as a law-abiding citizen. But, we also need to look at the prosecution of criminals who do crimes under gun violence and those type of things. But this is ideally a step in the right direction. So I commend him on doing that.
Okay, Cousin Todd.
Oh, okay. Usually you go to a crackpot and before you go back to
she did. Sense. She went to a crackpot.
Now listen how fast he is, but I can see you're not. Anyway, this is the thing here. The law did the signing of that bill didn't go far enough. They didn't do anything about children having guns. Like I said, no child 18 years old should have a weapon of war. So they did nothing about that, though they said you go through an extensive background check. I don't know how extensive that is. But that's not every gun, mind you, which it should be. You can't drive a car until you have a driver's license, which is what these Republicans always say about voting. So you should have to have a background check before you purchase any gun, and especially if you're under the age of 21. So I guess it's a step in the right direction, like Aguna said, but it's almost nothing. I don't think it's going to stop anything.
Okay, Keith?
Well, it's a step in the wrong direction because all they do is make it harder for good law-abiding citizens to get a gun. It just takes longer.
How is it harder?
It's harder because you're going to have to wait extra days. You're going to have to wait 10 days or more, and some people longer, some people. Why should you, if your life is threatened, like Kavanaugh, when his life was threatened, yet he and his house was vandalized, yet he couldn't, well, he's a justice, so he could probably get a gun. But I'm just saying your average Joe.
They have security.
Yeah, okay.
Congress pays for their security.
Yeah, but the security,
Unlike
they
Miss
don't go
Ruby,
everywhere.
who
So
didn't
anyway,
have
like I was
security.
saying, my point is every citizen, the best thing they should have done was make a law, or at least sign into law, that every citizen who is capable and is willing and is trained shall be issued a firearm for their safety and their personal protection. That's the way I would do it.
Okay.
Thank God you're not in charge.
Stephen?
Civilians can't get weapons of war, but an 18-year-old can join the military and have all kinds of weapons of war at his fingertips. And that's okay with God, I guess.
He's trained.
The 18-year-old should be able to
you.
get a gun constitutionally. They should be able to get a weapon to
No, they
protect
should
themselves.
not.
That's a God-given right that the Constitution guarantees.
God
Now, the
didn't
bad
give
thing
you that
about
right.
this, I don't know how
I
universal
thought you
it
said
is.
God don't
Wait
want
a
you to
minute,
kill.
Todd.
So
Wait a
now you
minute.
want the
Todd,
child
I
to
want to hear
kill?
what you have to say because I value your opinion, but let me finish. Flag laws, I don't know how
Empathy,
universal
good. That's good.
how much of the red flag laws, it's not a good thing. It's not I could say that Keith has a problem, and I believe his guns need to be taken away, and he doesn't get due process with his Fifth Amendment. You're entitled to like the Fifth and 14th Amendment. You're entitled to these.
I'm about to call him right now.
You're entitled to
I'm
this.
about to call him right now.
Red flag laws are a direct violation of our Constitution. It should never happen.
Yeah,
because
Stephen,
people don't get to
no.
face their accuser. They don't get to go to court. They get their guns unceremoniously taken away from them, and then they have to prove themselves.
I'll salute you when you lose
That's
your
not
gun.
how the United States justice system works.
The police on
Red
Keith,
flag
they will
laws are
take his guns
anti-American.
away.
Red
But if
flag
Keith
laws.
calls your guns
Please
away,
take Stephen's guns right now.
And it's a really bad thing for this
Speaking
country.
of
Get him out the
Miss
basement.
Ruby, Keith sent me this video.
Oh,
Watch
Jesus
this,
Christ.
and then we'll have Keith respond, and then everyone else. Watch this.
We're pulling out hidden boxes stuffed with ballots. Footage analyzed by Gateway Pundit reveals Freeman apparently scanning the same stack of ballots over and over again. Surveillance cameras show these polls and waited until the GOP observers and reporters had left the room before they resumed scanning their ballots. These four workers then continued counting uninterrupted for over 3 hours until sometime after 1 in the morning. During this time, Ruby Freeman, as seen here in this video, repeatedly scanned the same batch of ballots at least 3 times, which is highly illegal on tape. Freeman was working with her daughter, Wandrea Moss, who was also her election supervisor and was also caught on camera as one of the 4 workers who remained behind after election monitors were forced to leave the building. Georgia's officials have made serious efforts to dismiss the evidence presented on these videos, but so far there has been no explanation as to why Ruby Freeman scanned the same ballots multiple times, nor why they remained behind while the rest of the building was evacuated. Lawyers said it's highly unusual for anyone to store briefcases full of ballots under tablecloths, and it's not clear when those briefcases were delivered or why Ruby Freeman and her daughter waited until GOP observers left before they got them out. Based on the number of ballots observed in the briefcases and the number of times Ruby Freeman scanned the same set of ballots, experts say they could easily account for the sudden and mysterious spike in votes. Pearson Sharp, One America News.
Okay, Keith.
Yep. Well, it sure is amazing that even though the evidence comes out, no one cares. But that's the way it goes.
Evidence comes out.
Wait to 2022.
Hey, we could be smart for even showing that. That's been disproven time and time again. That's not OAN. That is not evidence. That's been.
Don't try to convince
these people.
That was propaganda.
Don't waste your
Steven,
time.
let me ask you something.
Okay.
You're making a fool of
Could have been
yourself.
that Lady Ruby and her daughter stayed to get extra work done, and that's why they were seen scanning those ballots. And also could have also have been that most computers are not going to take the same ballots over and over and
The
over.
same thing happened at a bunch of different purple situations.
Okay.
This is not an isolated situation.
It was illegal.
There was obvious fraud during this election, and it will be proven in 2022. So y'all just get your popcorn ready. Get your extra butter there, Todd. I know you like your extra butter. I don't know what you do with it.
Guna,
Real quick. Yeah, this is ridiculous. Again,
watch.
It's a Democratic precinct. You can clearly have checks and balances on who voted and who didn't.
Right.
And you have these yahoos here coming
they
on
don't
here.
take the same. The machines are not going to take the same balance.
This is the same film Rudy Giuliani tried to show and got Trump all worked up.
You're right, Stephen.
Under oath in front of the committee.
This way, it's coming.
There is no way.
The train is coming.
This is the same film. This is
Why
the
can't
film that
Stacey
Trump raised
mute them like she
$250
muted
million.
us?
He raised $250 million. So these net jobs here could go and give him money to pay his defense campaign. It was a grift. The fact that Keith even showed that shows you how disconnected he is because it's been disproven. And if it wasn't, he had $250 million to go into a defense fund. So none of his lawyers took that film that you just showed and submitted it to the court. That's what you're telling me. And you don't think you're making an idiot out of yourself. Okay.
The FBI investigated that. They were at the hearing.
They were passing around Tic Tacs, but it's supposed to be a jump drive.
They were at the hearing saying that didn't
Under
happen.
oath.
That was not true. And he told Donald Trump that, but Donald Trump wouldn't believe it, just like you two.
I hope Keith is getting paid for this. I really do. Because at the end of the day, he's not, just push propaganda and not get compensated.
Lord sees it.
Ridiculous.
And this is why I said you can't convince these people.
No, they don't.
Lord sees it.
Nas was talking about what's going to happen to these women, how there's going to be so many deaths. They're not going to believe it. And then if you show them dead bodies, you don't know what they could have died from.
We're not here to convince them. We're not here to convince. We're talking to our audience and our listeners, right? So we're not. These are why being informed and being engaged is so important, because you're going to have yahoos like Stephen and Keith here deciding on what to do with your body and claiming it's
dumb to be embarrassed.
It's not what you do with your body; it's what you do with the body that's living inside you.
The body.
You're not allowed to kill other people. If there's a body living inside you, you're not allowed to kill it. Nature's law.
CDC is now activating an emergency operations center in response to the monkeypox outbreak. So this allows for further support against evolving challenges with that virus. More than 300 CDC staff will work with local, national, and international response partners to fight this virus. And remember, monkeypox spreads less easily than it does with something like the coronavirus. It says that the threat remains low in the United States. The virus spreads through physical contact. The CDC says it's investigating at least 5 confirmed cases in the states.
Okay, this is our roundtable. Monkeypox is spreading. COVID is spreading. What are we going to do as a nation to slow it down? First Keith, then Stephen, then Aguna, then Cousin Todd. Make it really quick. We're out of time.
Stephen drinking vodka again.
You're gonna have to mute everybody if you want to get through
this.
this.
Go ahead. They're muted. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stay in the secret place of the Most High, and I'm going to abide under the shadow of the Almighty. For then I will be protected. My family will be protected from all these diseases that are coming and plagues that are coming upon mankind. And I believe that, and thus it shall be. And I also wanted to make this statement. You say that Aguna doesn't think that the people have a right to defend themselves. Well, I tell you one thing. Back there in the book of Esther, the Jews were threatened by enemies, and the king, Esther, appealed to the king. And the king said this decree. He gave the Jews everywhere permission to unite in the defense of their lives and their families, to destroy all the forces opposed to them, and to take their property. That is a biblical truth, that God gives us the right to self-defense. And as long as that's the case, the Second Amendment stands, and I stand with the Second Amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen.
Is this about monkeypox and whatever else?
COVID.
I don't know. I don't know if COVID's coming back. I mean, we're getting ready to have an election, so we got to shut everybody down. We got to worry about monkeypox now, and pretty soon we're worried about rooster pox, and something else is going to come along, and we're going to have to be scared again, and we can't go outside, and I'm going to go hide in my bathtub and fill it full of hot water and keep the hot water rolling.
Thank you. Aguna.
We're just in the tower. We're on the Tower of Babylon right now.
Ridiculous.
Babylon.
Go ahead, Aguna.
Thing about this with the CDC ruling, about monkeypox. Who's going to believe the CDC now? These institutions have been attacked, torn down, discredited, and all other things. So it's again, I listen to the science. They say it's not easily spread, so I don't think it's anything to get alarmed about. But what is to get alarmed, don't believe in science and call doctors witches and push books that they themselves don't know how to read. Go ahead, grab it real quick. There you go. Look at that. Dr. Fauci stole Stephen's lunch money, and so he is dedicated and committed to discrediting. I don't know if he killed his puppy.
Okay, thank you, Cousin Todd. Thank you, Cousin Todd.
Read it. Security britches. Read it.
Okay.
Thank you, Cousin Todd.
Mute him. Mute him.
This monkeypox, I don't think we have to worry about it yet. They're studying it. Of course, they say it came out of Africa. I think it came out of Europe.
Yeah, look at the. Speaking of monkeypox,
nevertheless,
we got a couple of them right here in the window.
Yeah. I can't. But people like them, there is no reaching them.
They're insecure and need attention.
That got shot at the Capitol building. She was radicalized, just like they have been radicalized.
She was a criminal.
As a matter of fact, Stephen used to say Donald Trump is
Thank God for the Second Amendment,
and he's evil and he's crazy. But then he got radicalized.
Yeah.
And this is what radical people look like. You see
look
him?
at him. Yeah, look at him.
He wants to drink bleach and stick needles in his neck and drink vodka all night. Say no to drugs, Stephen.
The meth lab.
And then Keith, all he can do is laugh at his boyfriend. Poor thing.
All right. Thank you. We are out of time. We went overtime again. To our inner communities, you make our lives livable. Thank you to our women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives. So we are free to say whatever we choose to on this show. We are forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian model Republican, Keith, the constitutional conservative.
You can't read the Constitution.
The independent
thinker.
No, he's not. He's a drunk.
And my cousin Todd.
He hates Dr. Fauci. Obviously, clearly, he hates Dr. Fauci. Look at him.
And he really is my cousin.
That's a trigger word for him. Fauci. Say it 3 times in the mirror.
I'd like to say, please watch us on Stephanie Stallworth's The Flow Television Network, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Like and subscribe. We will not be on next week, as we will be with you celebrating July 4th.
Juneteenth.
Thank you. And happy birthday to my sister Loretta. Happy birthday, sissy. Today's her birthday.
Today's Obi's birthday as well.
It's Obi's birthday. Happy birthday,
Obi. Get out of here.
That is actually, the 28th. There you go.
Happy birthday, Obi. And we'll see you.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Obi and Loretta.
Good night.
Good night. He's not dancing. Keith, you're supposed to be dancing right now. Dancing the white man's heaven.
Keith is absolutely too dark. Keith, I think you need more. I'm not Keith. Steven, you need more light. I mean, we're going to have to work on this.
Go ahead, Keith.
Oh, I'm sorry, he was muted.
He looks like.
You need more light, Steven.
Wave to him.